In southern New Mexico, there is a desert that looks like winter made a mistake. Endless white dunes roll to the horizon like fresh snow under a bright blue sky. But the air is hot, the ground is dry, and every step reminds you this is not ice, it is sand, pure white sand. And the first question comes instantly. How can an entire desert look this clean, this bright, and this unreal? In New Mexico, there is a landscape that breaks one of the most basic rules your mind uses to understand deserts. Deserts are supposed to be yellow, brown, red, maybe orange in the right light. They are supposed to look dry, dusty, and sunburned. But white sands does something completely different. It glows. The dunes are so white that from a distance they can look like snowfields, frozen waves, or light itself shaped by wind. It is one of those places where your brain hesitates, because the scene looks familiar and impossible at the same time. That hesitation is exactly what gives white sands its power. It is not just beautiful, it is confusing in the best possible way. The color is wrong for a desert. The feeling is wrong for a desert. Most deserts feel heavy, harsh, and exposed. White sands feels clean, open, almost dreamlike, as if the landscape has been stripped of every usual desert signal and rebuilt from brightness instead of earth. And that is why the title question works so well. Why is this desert pure white? Because the white color is not a trick of light. It is not a temporary coating. It is the material itself. These dunes are made mostly of gypsum, a mineral that almost never forms a dune field this vast. That single fact turns white sands from a pretty landscape into something much stranger. This is not just another desert with unusual lighting. It is one of the rarest mineral landscapes on Earth. To understand why, you have to look beyond the dunes and into the history of the basin around them. Long ago, this region held ancient lakes. Water collected here, then evaporated again and again, leaving mineral deposits behind. Among those minerals was gypsum. Normally, gypsum dissolves easily in water and does not survive long enough in loose form to become an entire desert. But this basin trapped the system in place. Water came in, evaporation took it away, and the mineral stayed behind. Over time, the gypsum changed form. It was dissolved, redeposited, crystallized, broken apart, and slowly reduced into the fine grains that now make up the dunes. So, white sands did not begin as an ordinary sandy desert. It began as a mineral story, one shaped by ancient water, and then rewritten by time. The dunes exist because this landscape kept recycling its own geology until the basin became a sea of white. Then the wind took over, and that is what gives white sands its motion, its softness, and its almost ghostly beauty. The dunes do not just sit there. They move, slowly, constantly, silently. Wind lifts grains, smooths ridges, sharpens crests, and reshapes the entire field over time. That creates one of the most powerful contradictions in the landscape. It looks frozen, but it is always changing. It feels still, but it is never still for long. Visually, that is what makes the place so cinematic. The dunes rise in smooth, flowing shapes with almost no clutter in the frame. No dark rocks breaking the view, no dense vegetation, no visual chaos, just white curves, blue sky, shadow, and distance. It feels minimal in a way that almost does not seem natural. The clean lines make the desert look more like sculpture than terrain. Light slides over the dunes in smooth gradients, and the shadows carve out forms so perfect they can feel designed. That visual purity is also why white sands can feel emotionally strange. Snow usually means cold, silence, winter, and stillness. Sand means heat, dryness, and exposure. White sands merges those two signals into one place, and your mind does not know which one to trust first. It looks cold, but it is hot. It looks frozen, but it flows. It looks soft and harmless, yet it exists in a harsh basin shaped by evaporation, mineral concentration, and relentless wind. The desert creates tension simply by being the wrong color for what it is. And then there is the brightness itself. White surfaces reflect sunlight intensely, and that makes white sands feel even less like a normal desert. Instead of visually absorbing heat the way darker land does, the dunes seem to throw light back into the sky. Under full sun, the whole landscape can look almost overexposed, as if nature pushed brightness beyond what feels normal. That is one reason photos of white sands often look fake. The desert does not just appear white. It appears impossibly white. But there is another part of the story that makes the place even more interesting. White sands is not only visually strange, it is ecologically unusual too. Life here has had to adapt to a landscape where the color, reflectivity, and movement of the sand create a very specific environment. Some animals in the region have developed lighter coloration, blending more easily into the pale ground. That means the white desert is not just scenery, it influences survival. The landscape shapes life. That matters because it turns white sands into more than a beautiful location. The dunes are the visible result of geology, ancient water, climate, wind, and adaptation, all working together in one closed system. Water helped leave the minerals behind. Evaporation concentrated them. Weather broke them down. Wind shaped them into dunes. Life responded to the brightness. What looks simple on the surface is actually the result of a very long chain of events. This is where the impact on modern life becomes impossible to ignore, because white sands now lives at the intersection of tourism, photography, science education, and viral visual culture. It is one of those rare places that instantly stops people mid-scroll, because the image looks so clean and so wrong for a desert that it almost feels digitally altered. But white sands also reminds us that the most photogenic places are often fragile. The dunes move, habitats shift. What looks empty is not empty at all. And there is something larger happening beneath all of this. White sands changes how you think about deserts themselves. Most people imagine deserts as places defined by lack of water, lack of life, lack of softness. But white sands proves that emptiness can still be visually overwhelming, geologically complex, and emotionally powerful. It turns a basin shaped by evaporation into one of the brightest and most dreamlike landscapes in America. That may be why the dunes stay in people's minds long after they leave. Not just because they are beautiful, but because they feel like a contradiction the earth somehow made permanent. A hot desert that looks cold, sand that resembles snow. A place built from mineral remains and moving wind, yet smooth enough to feel almost untouched. White sands does not need cliffs, waterfalls, or violent weather to feel extraordinary. It does it through purity, through light, and through silence. So why is this desert pure white? Because it is made mostly of gypsum, a rare mineral for a dune field this large. Because ancient water once filled this basin and left minerals behind. Because weather and erosion broke those minerals into fine grains. Because wind shaped them into endless dunes. And because this closed system allowed the material to remain here instead of washing away. But emotionally, that answer never feels complete. The dunes still look like winter trapped inside a desert. And maybe that is the real power of white sands. Not just that it is white, but that it forces you to admit how strange purity can look when it appears in the wrong place. Endless dunes shine under the desert sun, bright as snow and soft as ash, while the air stays hot and the land keeps moving. It is one of those rare places where the Earth ignores its own visual rules and creates something so clean, so bright, and so unexpected that your first instinct is not understanding. It is disbelief. If white sands made you question how a desert can look more like snow than sand, like this video and subscribe to Off the Map. Because next, we are going somewhere even stranger. Papakolea Green Sand Beach, Hawaii. Why is this beach green? And when you see an entire shoreline glowing with green grains instead of gold or white, the question will not be whether it is beautiful. It will be how a beach on Earth can look that unnatural.